all levels of goodness.
Hello everyone, hello.
So this one is going to be a nice short and sweet one, but obviously there's going to be a load of lessons in here, so welcome back to my wonderful kingdom. We're going to be making a steak sandwich. Now I know what you're going, oh that's easy, I know how to do that. There's a couple of things you can do, like and subscribe. So, there's a couple of things with a steak sandwich that you kind of have to cover. Now, I live in East London, and it is extremely hipster, as you can tell by my newly found mullet. But what they do over here is they give you a sandwich where the crust is so hard, because they use this stuff called sourdough. Trendy, but it's very hard to bite through and it's very crunchy and sore on the old gums. So what I like to have, number one thing, is a soft bread. You could do a number of things. Do you want to put it in like a white bap? Probably not. You want a little bit of bite to it. I find a ciabatta absolutely fantastic. Steak. Now look, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not the usual channel where they're going to be like, oh, I've gone out and I've got this grass-reared, family-friendly beef steak. Look, ladies and gentlemen, we're in a world where not a lot of us have a lot of money. So I've popped to a shop called Tesco and I've got British rump steak. It was £3.50. Is it gonna be as good as going to a local butcher and spending a little bit more? No, but for the sake of this video and not making this channel go bankrupt, it's fantastic. How do we make that sexy? We cook it well and we do a little funky thing to it to give it some umami. Then you want to play with the flavors. What do you play with the flavors? Think about the steak. It is fatty and meaty. What goes well, fatty and meaty, something acidic, or maybe something a little bit sweet and a little bit acidic. You could go classic and go chimichurri, but I'm gonna do some nice caramelized onions, keep it nice and simple, but then make that flavorsome and pack a punch and then give us something good. Yeah? You with me? Should we start cooking? It's gonna be quite simple, this. So first things first, when cooking steak, the enemy of steak is moisture. For all you lads out there that go, oh, it's not blood, it's, I always get this wrong, hemoglobin? It's hemoglobin. Ugh. This has been sweating in said vacuum pack thing. In an ideal world, you could leave it in the fridge for a couple of days so all the outside goes all nice and dry. Now, in a world where I've gone, I'm fucking starving, I want to eat something, what do? I take it out of the packet and I pat it dry. So by patting it dry, you're going to remove some of said moisture and then you're going to have a nice crusty steak that will be able to get a nice sear, because the sear is our friend. Like that. Put it back on there. I'm just going to put one of these ciabatta rolls just to warm. I'm not going to get it crispy, I just want it to warm and just get a nice sort of like warmth to it. This pan is warming up nicely. The best way I find to do a steak, now there are lots of methods. It's like, do you take it out of the fridge and get it room temperature and then cook it? Kenji Lopez, he said there is no point in doing it, so I'm gonna believe him. Nice little bit of oil, just so that's gonna help get your Maillard reaction going. Maillard reaction is the caramelization of proteinations to make it go nice and tasty. Nice bit of salt, be generous, because that salt is not gonna sit on there long enough to go into the middle. If you salted this maybe overnight, like you can do with bigger joints, that can happen. Right, tell you what, I've bloody done it. I went camping at the weekend and I left everything in the van. What a twat. Right, so, hot pan. You want it hot, you don't want it like ripping, otherwise you'll just like burn the steak before you have a chance to get a nice sear on it. So, away from you, nice little bit of extra oil in there. So what I'm saying is you can still get a delicious steak by using a cheaper cut, it's all right. And this is also a lovely lesson in residual cooking temperatures, because I'm preparing this onion now to be cooked. And you're gonna be like, oh, it's not gonna be done by the time the steak's done. You've got to let steaks rest, okay? Let them rest. Don't put pressure on yourself to understand all of the temperatures, like how that's cooked, all of that kind of stuff. Look on the internet, find out the numbers that you need and follow that. Gordon Ramsay on TV, right? How many steaks has he cooked in his life? And he goes like, oh yeah, lovely. Because he's been doing it his whole fucking life. Give yourself a chance. Find the hot spot in the pan as well and always lift it up and let a bit of that oil get underneath it so you can get a nice sear. Amanda Doodah, these ones. Don't want these to be super thin. This is almost like an Oklahoma style. Oklahoma burgers. Basically do super thin onions, smash it into the patty. If you end up with bits like that, just put them in a bowl, put them in the freezer, ready for a stock. That's a bowl, that's a freezer. Put it in there, make a stock out of it later. Use your nose, I can start to smell this is looking good. Here we go, lovely jubbly. Oh, cooking steak. I like cooking steak. Oh, let someone borrow my studio and they put in the posh butter. So this is a great way of creating extra, I'm gonna say the word, umami on the steak. Now I think you've got salty goodness on there. I'm gonna do this rare. I like a rare steak. Butter in, Soy sauce. Yes, it's salty, but we can balance this later. So a nice bit of soy sauce. Now, this stage, the steak is done for me. This steak is very rare. This sauce, I'm just gonna pour over the top. Some's gonna cling, some's gonna go underneath, but we're gonna use that later. So let that rest. Got about 5 minutes now, loads of time. This goes back on. Onions are gonna go in, pinch of salt. Now remember what I said, steak, salty fattiness. This can be sweetness. Sweetness and salt goes perfectly together with a little bit of acidity from some vinegar. You'll have a wonderful thing. So I'm just gonna let these cook down. We'll be back in a bit. So look, these onions, because they were so thin, they've just like cooked down into this beautiful, see that camera 12? Caramelized onion. Number one rule with cooking is you always have to have a taste. People always think, oh yeah, you do a little bit of salt and that's done. No, taste. Register it. Think about what has happened. You've just used the steak juice and the onions. It's just gonna have a little bit of acidity in there, so a little bit of vinegar, because those onions are always a little bit sweet. Let that bubble away for a little bit. It's the only point I got a little bit of bouge, all right? Oh, my bread roll. Here's my roll. So this is a little bit of QP. Why is QP delicious? Because it's got motherfucking MSG in it. So get some MSG in there. And then again, think about it. Talk to yourself while you're cooking. What does mustard have in it? Bitter and maybe a little bit of acidity, because sometimes it gets blended down with a touch of vinegar. So give that a little mix. You've got the easiest sauce ready to go. This has been about 5 minutes. So that steak is now beautifully rested. Do you need a little bit of greenery? Probably. Have I got any? Absolutely not. Mayo, mustard, both sides, just in case you drop one half. Then you got this steak, look at that. Nice sharp knife, rested. All of that juice won't bleed out because you've let it rest, everything's relaxed. You've got to think with meat, and you've got to think with steaks especially. I always like it, it's like jumping in a bath. If you jump in a really hot bath, you're gonna go, and then if you pulled them straight out again, they're probably gonna be, that's what that's gonna be like. If it's jumped into a hot pan, and then you take it out and let it chill for a bit, it's gonna be like, oh, I was all right, I feel good about myself. Look, I'd say that is rare and it's beautiful. Lift up this little trivet, get that back in the juice, slice this one. Oh, it's such a happy place right now. That is like a glaze. Honestly, this is like a secret weapon when doing steak sandwiches, because all it was, a bit of butter, a bit of soy sauce into the pan as you was finishing, and then you can just mix all of that through. And you've got this, then you load that up. I mean, this is a greedy one. And the thing is, when you cook a steak like this, and it's so soft, when you go and eat it, you can actually chew through instead of having to like pull bits out into your mouth. Hate it when you have a big, flat, massive steak in a sandwich like that, mate. Plop that on top. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, that is, I would say, the ultimate steak sandwich. Maybe a little bit of arugula in there, but nice and gently cut through. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Oh. It's all levels of goodness. Those onions are like sweet, but then they've got that tang to it that kind of cuts through the fattiness of that. Then you've got that mayo, which is almost a little bit like punchy, with that hit of umami and that MSG-ness. It's got motherfucking MSG in it. And then the steak is just this sort of like salty, fatty thing that is wonderful. It doesn't take long to think about flavours in food. And when it all starts making sense, that monologue starts playing in your head, let me know what you want to see. And honestly, don't forget to like and subscribe and follow and all that jazz, because I just love making food and making you happy. So cheers for coming along. Bye.